Hello, 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 hello. All right. All right. We got something cool going on right here. Um we've got I can't see what I'm looking at. I need to go to my okay, here. We've got our Dinkerman 3 Stay Classy Again beer from Tarantula Hill Brewing. Smells like a lawsuit, so we'll enjoy it while we can. That tastes like shitty beer. Now, the real reason we're all here today is because last weekend when I was camping in Idlewild, California, I went to a small vintage thrift shop, among other shops, and I bought a hook to decorate my walls. And I went to go ring it up, and the lady was like $5.40, and I was like, here's my card, and she's like, we don't do purchases of less than $10 for card. So I'm like, okay, here we go. I go back in the thrift shop, and I find this book that was $5, so I bought it. Reader's Digest Treasury of Wit and Humor. Now, this is some serious stuff. It was written in 1958. So, the people that contributed to this book are either not doing well at all or they're dead. It might be, maybe it's boomer humor. It might be a little before. I don't really know my generations, but it's definitely not like, the meme culture of today. But it should be studied. It should really be studied. I think there's a lot to learn from it. And I think laughing is one of the highest values there is, You can transmute anything with laughter, no matter how shitty it is. If you can laugh at it, you're in a good spot. So, I want to get better at laughing. And to get better at laughing, I need to develop my sense of humor. And I think this is a good way to do it. So, I read the first 20, 30 pages about, but I want to read new stuff. I want to read stuff I haven't read yet, and react like you're going to react as we read it together. So I just flipped to page 200, a nice round number, and it has a category called Stork Questions. So I'm guessing this has to do with births or something like that. Or Stork Quotations. Never mind. Yeah, it looks like it's baby stuff related, just from a quick glance. So let's get right into it. I'm just going to read some jokes, sip some beer, and take notes. Try and figure out what's funny about this stuff. Here we go. Bada beam, bada boom. Father going over obstetrical bills to a mother weighing baby. Comes to $48.37 a pound. I don't get it. I think it's probably a joke about pricing a baby like you would, a cut of meat or fish or something. Didn't really hit for me, but it wouldn't be in here if it wasn't funny. So there's something to it. Let's keep going. Just before I was married, I called the Associated Hospital Service to let them know that I wanted to change my subscription to the family plan. The representative told me that I would be eligible for maternity benefits, only if the contract has been in effect for 10 consecutive months preceding the hospital admission. Then, looking at my record, she said, "Oh, I see you've been a subscriber for quite a number of years. In that case, you can have a baby 7 months after you are married and have nothing to worry about." Okay. I'm not going to pretend like I'm a really smart guy. I'm not really getting this, but I do know pregnancies last for 9 months. And the punchline has 7 months in it, so it's probably something about getting pregnant before you were actually married. I'm not getting it though, so I had 1 or 2 beers before this, so maybe it's just that, but I'm going to move on in the next one. We're going to get a heavy hitter in here at some point, I promise. There's some good stuff. Let's go to the next one. Hugh Walpole had such an instinctive knowledge of how to break bad or startling news gently that he was always being called upon. But, the author admitted, there was a nurse in the maternity ward of a London hospital who had me beaten. One evening, for instance, I saw an excited father stop her in the hall and quaver, "And my suspense, nurse. Is it a boy?" Calm as a cucumber, she answered him, "Well, the one in the middle is." That's a joke about having more babies than you're expecting. I got that one. That's about having triplets. Oh. Okay. I get it. It's funny because you thought it was going to be just one kid and then there's 3. And then you're like, oh shit, I wasn't ready for that. Next. This is so confused. Okay. In Mexico, NY, encouraged by teacher Lucy Sally to discuss local news, a second grader stood up before the class and reported, "Last night my mother had a baby, and now I think my aunt's coming down with it." What's funny about that? Well, one, that it's like some sort of illness or disease to get pregnant or to be with child. That's funny. That's just funny. And then maybe he's calling his aunt fat. I don't know. That could be it. I'm not sure. Either they were very smart back then, or they were a lot looser with what was funny. I'm not sure. But we're going to go on to the next one. This is what it looks like, by the way. I don't know if I showed you. It's just literally just run on, boom, 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 categorized jokes. And some of them are such boomer jokes. Like literally, some of them are excerpts of comics where there's no image, but it's just like from this comic with this picture, and it's all text. So they just they were relying on their humor database so much where they're like, I'm not even going to show you the cartoon and what was funny about it. I'm just going to describe to you what was funny about it. And that's crazy. I think that's a little too far. It doesn't work that well, but here we go. When Beatrice Ayer married George Patton Jr. and began her career as an army wife, her mother gave her this advice: make friends with everyone, confide in no one. The young bride took the maxim so to heart that she became the enigma of Fort Sheridan. After she had been there for perhaps 6 months, the wife of an elderly major paid her a call. Chatted casually, then said, "I'm the oldest wife on the post, and the others have delegated me to ask you a rather delicate question." "I'll be glad to answer if I can," said Miss Patton. "You have confided in no one," said her caller, blushing, "and we wondered if you are going to have a baby." I think that's a joke about other women assuming this other woman is going to be pregnant, and I can only imagine the reason is because of her body shape. Like saying, did you know you're going to have a baby? Because you think that lady would know. Man, this is I might be dumber than I thought. I'm not getting a lot of these. Whew. Okay, on to the next. We'll pick up another one here. My friend Sally went with her conspicuously expectant daughter-in-law to visit a neighboring rancher. As they were departing the rancher, As they were departing, the rancher asked Sally if she would leave his hunting rifle with a gunsmith in the village along their way. Having parked the automobile in the village, the two women were strolling leisurely along, Sally with the rifle under her arm. Suddenly, she turned to her daughter-in-law. "Eloise," she said, "would you mind walking on the other side of the street?" I think I'm retarded. What the heck? I don't know what's going on. I'm not getting half of these. And it's not like it was like that in the first half of the book. Okay, this next one's like 2 sentences. If I can't get this, then I have issues. Wife knitting tiny garment to husband. Okay, I said that as it's written, but let me try and space it out better. A wife who's knitting a tiny garment says this to her husband. "Oh, I meant to tell you. It wasn't psychosomatic after all." That's funny. That's funny. I think because, maybe the husband was like, "Oh, you're crazy. Like, you're not pregnant. You're just feeling, or you're just thinking," or, he maybe dismissed her intuition about the state of her body. And she, snidely comments as she's knitting a new baby onesie. "Oh, it wasn't psychosomatic at all." I just had to lay that out there because that's like the first one I really feel like I got. So, wow. This is going to be a long series if we go through this whole book. But I think that would be cool. That would be cool. So let's try and stick with it. Next one. Our two little girls, 10 and 8, have had all their questions about the facts of life answered frankly and honestly. Thus, after a recent TV showing of a movie in which the stork story was repeated several times in an excited hush-hush manner, our 8-year-old asked what on earth a stork had to do with having babies. Realizing then that the youngsters had probably never heard the stork story, we burst out laughing. "That's what's the matter with this family," exclaimed the 10-year-old. "No one ever tells us anything." I get that one. That one's funny. Because most families don't tell their kids the sex story. I wasn't told it. I never got the talk. Side note, my talk was Michael Early. What's up, dude? Haven't seen you in like 15 years. But in 4th grade, Michael Early, when he found out I hadn't had the talk, was like, I can't say this. That's not appropriate. But I got the talk from another 4th grader. I'll leave it at that. And it wasn't accurate. He thought it was a different hole. That's all I'm going to say. So, the joke here is that the kids are like, "You didn't tell us the stork story." But they got the real thing that no one else ever gets at their age, It's funny because it's backwards. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's not harp on it. I'm getting bored talking about it. Next, when Jane Davies, pilot in the British Air Transport Auxiliary during World War II, discovered she was going to have a baby, the medical officer told her she would have to stop flying. Jane asked pertly if there was anything in the regulations about pilots not having babies, and continued ferrying aircraft. Finally, however, an ultimatum appeared in daily orders. 3rd Officer Jane Davies relieved of flying duties as of this date, and specifying chapter and paragraph of the regulations on which the order was based. Indignant Jane rushed to the nearest set of regulations to find the exact words which had struck her down. There they were, brief, definite, final. 3rd Officer pilots are not allowed to carry passengers. That's funny, because she's pregnant. So she's carrying passengers, and she can't do her job anymore. They put a woman out of a job because she got pregnant. Funny. All right, one more in this category. When our first baby was born, my husband gave me a pair of baby shoes for my charm bracelet. For the second baby the next year, he added a tiny bassinet to the bracelet. Sorry, I read ahead a little bit. A year later, when our third baby arrived, the charm was a sterling silver stop sign. That's funny because, the first baby's like, yes, we're doing it. The second baby is like, this is so good. And the third baby is like, it's a lot of money. Stop. Okay. All right, I didn't do too good in that category. I'm not gonna lie. I have enough self-awareness to realize that I was lacking on the punchline bit. But the next category is called home truths. Looks like it. I see the word driveway, garbage, sweep, housewife, so it's probably just around the house stuff. But let's take a 1-minute break and reconvene in a second. Ready? Go. Bum ba bum ba bum ba bum 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 ba bum ba bum ba bum bum ba bum ba bum ba bum. All right, cool. This is going quite swimmingly so far. On to the next category. Home truths. Any suburban mother can state her role sardonically enough in a sentence. It is to deliver children. Obstetrically once and by car forever after. That's funny, and that's a new word for me. Obstetrical. I read that on the previous page and I didn't know what it meant. Just skipped right over it, pretended like I know what it meant. Contextually, I think it means out the vagina. And this joke is funny because you deliver a child out the vagina and then by car forever after. Oh, kids are a burden. It's funny. Okay, next. Nobody who can read is ever successful at cleaning out the attic. I feel like there's something here. I'm not really getting it. Maybe because I only go in my attic when it's Christmas and it's time to pull the Christmas stuff out. maybe in the past it acted as like a secondary library, and you'd go up there, and just like everyone who has a library experiences, you start fiddling through your books, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get to this one. Like, I can't believe I forgot about this. I'm totally gonna read this. Ba 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 ba, and you never do. It just sits on your bookshelf. But maybe that's what the joke's about. I'm not sure. Next. The successful housewife is one who makes no mistakes. She can't either pour... What the heck is this? Is this a typo? Okay. The successful housewife is one who makes no mistakes. She can't either pour mushroom soup on or slipcover. I have no idea what that means. Next. A lot of suburban dwellers have discovered that trees grow on money. Okay. Sorry about that. I think that's a joke about property value and how real estate is how people store their wealth through the asset economy, and trees grow on properties. So it's a reversal of the phrase, money grows on trees. I think that's what we're working with there. I'm going to write a note real quick. All right, next. My kids can forget school assignments, forget to bathe, wash dishes, empty garbage, sweep, dust, sleep, even forget to eat. But they can remember any careless promise I might have made them 5 months or 5 years ago. Beep, 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 beep. That's a joke about lying to your kids. That joke is funny because this lady is like, I lie to my kids and they forget to do all the stuff they're supposed to do, but they remember the lies I told them. Next. Disgusted husband to clerk in paint store. She wants just the right shade of green. A good green, but not too green. And definitely not that horrid, sickening green. That's a husband making fun of his wife. I think the quotes was him repeating her chosen words and describing what kind of green she wanted. And it's funny because it makes sense, according to them, from a wife to the husband in the home. But when the husband uses the same words in the store, it's funny. He didn't filter it through his own experience and change it to his masculine nature. He just repeated word for word. It's funny. It's funny. It's funny. Next. These are actually funny, by the way. I'm mocking them because I don't want to just sit here and slap my knee. This is funny. I feel like I need to have some sort of refined perspective on it. But these are funny. I'm not shitting on this by any means. Next. It's nice for children to have pets until the pets start having children. What a bar. I might throw that in one of my raps. It's nice for children to have pets until the pets start having children. It flows good, and it's funny. It's funny because, you buy your kid a hamster, and it's like, oh, I had a hamster. I had 2 hamsters, Squinky and Dragon. Rip both of them. Squinky had rigor mortis as he was dying. I was holding him in my hands at 8 years old at the top of my staircase, and he died. And I was just sitting there crying mourning him. And all of a sudden, the rigor mortis kicked in, and his leg was vibrating like a speedboat. And I freaked out, and I threw him down the stairs. He just, his dead body flopped like 12 stairs down. And it was sad. It's not how I wanted him to go, but that's how he went. Dragon was a little more peaceful. I was actually away at college when Dragon died, so deuces. But this joke's funny because, you know, you buy your kid one pet. You buy your kid one hamster. But what if the hamster has kids? Then all of a sudden you have 6, 7, 8 pets. Yeah, I think maybe humor has a lot to do with morphing perspective and expectations. I'm really trying to take notes here and figure out what the common denominator is, what makes some of these jokes funny. Sorry. I think I threw up on the mic a little bit. One sec. Next. The best... No! My mic went out. Is it still there? Check, 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 check. One sec. Check, check, check. Okay, I think the mic's still working, even though I don't hear it in my headphones, which is kind of weird. Check, check. Check. No. 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 Is this a sign? Does that mean I should wrap it up? Okay, we'll do a couple more, just for the heck of it. No. 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 Okay, I think the mic's still working. Alright, whatever. We'll do a couple more. The best way for a housewife to have a few minutes to herself at the end of the day is to start doing the dishes. That's funny. That's funny because gender roles. And a woman belongs in the kitchen, and no one else is going to be in there helping her. So that's the best place for her to have a few minutes to herself, is to get to work. It's funny. That is funny. Next. God damn it, what happened here? Oh well. Nothing widens a narrow driveway quite as much as looking at it with a snow shovel in your hands. That's funny. That's a joke about how when you look at a job that has to be done, it just gets bigger and bigger. The more you look at it, the more the anticipation grows. Next, as every parent knows, out of the mouth of babes come words we shouldn't have said in the first place. That's a joke about cussing in front of your kids, and your kids repeating those jokes. And that's what that joke is. Next, ad in the Mishawaka Industries Enterprise. You, too, can have ulcers. Buy our good upright piano for $30 and try to get your child to practice. By the time a couple can really afford to have children, they're having grandchildren. Okay. Well, that's like a joke on a joke, I think. You know, you get ulcers trying to get your kid to practice the thing you bought them. But then also, here's a joke in 1958 about saying you can't afford kids until you're old enough to have grandkids. What? Imagine what it's like in today's economy. Next, time's running out. Real estate salesman to couple. This is truly a restricted development. No one is allowed to build a house they can afford. Wow. These are hitting. these bars are hitting in 2025. And this book is from 1958. What's the math on that? 67 years ago? Something or other? That's crazy. If they were not able to afford kids or houses 67 years ago, then where are we at today? Where are we at? Let's think about it. Let's talk about it. I don't know. But we got through 4 pages of the Reader's Digest Treasury of Wit and Humor from 1958. I had a good time. I kind of sucked ass in the first half, pulled it together in the second. I think it's because the jokes were shorter, so my attention span was a little more efficient. But we'll do this again. Let's do this again. This was good. I felt like I grew from this, learned a little bit about myself and the world in 1958. Maybe got a little funnier. Who knows? Bye.